And we also watch an intervention by one of our regular contributors, Peter Mathews, the Fine Gael TD for Dublin South, an intervention which suggests disillusionment on his part with the government's strategy on the bailout. As your colleague Peter Mathews said in the Dáil today. Let's have a look at this, or try to say.
The opening lines of the treaty that was just signed the other day read, conscious of the obligation of the contracting parties as member states of the European Union to regard their economic policies as a matter of common concern, etc., etc. Now that is the open invitation. It's the, I have, please. It's yeah. the Please.
Yeah, no, I'm conscious of time and I want to let other colleagues in. So
as Deputy McLaughlin said, we've got a £500 gorilla. It's not actually, it's a £2,000 gorilla. The problem, the crisis of Europe. And when I was over with the Finance and Public, when I was over with the Public and the Finance and Public Expenditure Committee in the Bundestag, meeting other committees, we put to them information that they were clearly not aware of. And these are people who are on the budgetary committee of the Bundestag with the 300 billion budget. And I put it to them that the loan losses in our banking system were 60% of our national income, of our GDP. If the same problem had arisen in Germany, it would be 300 billion as a proportion of their GDP. And we were being asked silently to bear this load, and that was wrong.
The question now to the Minister, please. I'm sorry now to be, but I'm
going to reiterate the question that Deputy McLaughlin asked. Why, at the summit the other day on Monday, was the question of the unsustainability of private banking debt that's now been socialised in this country not on the agenda for discussion, because that is the
main... Deputy. I have your question now. We have your question. We'll try and get a response to it. That's all right.
No. The ESRI equivalent in Germany were not aware that the three elements of debt in this economy comprised also private household debt, non-financial corporate debt, as well as the sovereign debt, which is the focus of the fiscal compact. Our private household debt and non-financial corporate debt is twice the size of Greece's, who are in the emergency ICU.
You've asked the question, Deputy. I want to move on to another colleague. Is that all right? Yeah. You've asked your question.
Do you know what? This really is a shame, what's happening today. They were being boxed into the old traditions.
I'm sorry, Deputy. I'm restricted by the time, number one. I want to give other colleagues a chance. It's a questions and answers session, so I hope you'll appreciate that.
That fellow in the Count Corra seat was a fellow called Pádraig Coffey, who's a Fine Gael TD for Waterford. Peter Mathews, who's a Fine Gael TD for now anyway, representing Dublin South. We also have with us Sean Fleming, who's I'm sorry?
Yeah, for the term of the government, Vincent.
You'll be there for the term of the government.
Absolutely.
You looked a bit wobbly yesterday, Peter.
Maybe.
We'll have a look at how wobbly you looked yesterday, but in a moment. Sean Fleming, who's Fianna Fáil TD for Laois. This is a shame. It is a shame, Peter.
That's the choreography.
You're wasting your time at the Dáil. Your party colleague, that fellow is from Fine Gael, fellow from Waterford, wouldn't let you make your point reasonably.
He was doing his job correctly as a chairman, Vincent.
And were you breaking some rules, were you?
I'm new to the Dáil.
Were you breaking some rules?
Vincent, I'm new to the Dáil. I'm not even 10 months in the Dáil. I've to learn about the algebra and choreography of the procedures in the Dáil. And that was the statements debate, the statements on the fiscal treaty, compact treaty of last Monday, where the Taoiseach makes a contribution of 20 minutes, the leaders of the opposition each have 20 minutes, including the technical group who divide up their time, and then there's questions. And it was towards the end of that question time, which is generously allocated mostly to the opposition, so that there isn't the sort of presumption on the part of the government to own and monopolise that time. We were down to 2 minutes, and it was really not being familiar with that small little window of less than 2 minutes that I was trying to make a little shorthand report of what had happened in Germany.
Anyway, the question you were asking was, why wasn't the question of the huge bank debt not on the agenda for the summit meeting on Monday?
Yeah.
Why would it have been relevant to the summit meeting on Monday?
Because I think that if the summit meeting had to deal with what was on the agenda and had been fixed for the agenda beforehand, which was the fiscal compact agreement, okay? There's 27 members in the EU, there's 17 in the Eurozone. There's a huge army of translators and assistants and administrators in addition to the heads of state. And it's a big melee of people. It's difficult to manage. And if you were not to stick to agendas, then the whole thing becomes a little bit unwieldy. And they were trying, the hosts of,
but we know that. We know that. But my question was, how was this relevant to the agenda?
Yeah. Well, my point was this: that isn't it a pity, in the light of the scale of the losses proportionately in our economy that are being socialised, that somehow or other the agenda before the meetings and the series of meetings were set, that could have been accommodated. That's my point. And that's the point as a parliamentarian.
But it's not an answer to my question. My question was, what would the relevance of that have been to the meeting on Monday?
Well, it's on the introduction to the compact, as I read out slowly at the beginning, it's to regard their economic policies as a matter of common concern. Now, the common concern, as far as Ireland is concerned, is that there's a very big legacy debt that has transformed from being private sector losses into an emerging national debt, and that needs to be discussed. And I don't think it was fully understood by some of the parliamentarians that we met in the meetings, the visitation.
Do you have confidence in the government's handling of all this?
I do.
I
think everything.
And persistently to get a debt write-down.
I do, and I believe what I read.
I don't think you listened to my question because you gave an answer that isn't relevant. Did you believe that they would negotiate persistently and trenchantly to get a debt write-down?
Yes, I do, but I don't think it was overtly in the media light. I think it was.
But you do believe they did this?
I do, yes. Behind the scenes, I do.
And what do you think of Enda Kenny's statement in the Dáil then on Tuesday of last week that they never asked for a debt write-down?
In the context of the agenda for that meeting on Monday. That would have been bringing it onto an agenda which didn't contain it, Vincent.
Peter, he wasn't talking about the agenda on Monday.
He was reporting on the Monday summit. And he was saying, truthfully and straightforwardly...
This happened before the Monday summit.
Yes, and there was a series of meetings leading to that summit, and the agenda was a limited, blinkered one, and I made that point to the German people at the Budgetary Committee. By the way, just as regards that clip, I made a mistake, and I'd like to correct it now, that the proportionate scale of the losses in our economy at about 70 billion as a proportion of the national income is 55%. In Germany, if they had the same problem on the same scale, no, this is important, it would be 1.25 trillion. And that actually sank home when the Germans heard it.
All right. OK, let's talk about NAMA.
Yeah.